Okay, Rich Wolfen from Import.io, you have 7 minutes.
Okay, so could you all please stand up? And could you all please sit down? Sit down. It is the end of the day. No, I apologise for that, but it's the first time I've been able to control my CEO since I started a month and a half ago, and it was just an opportunity I couldn't miss. Our vision at Import.io is as AWS for data. So on one side, we're a cloud platform for developers, or engineers, to have access to data and discover data. On the other side, we're a cloud platform that allows data owners and data suppliers to actually monetize their data, which doesn't really necessarily exist for all people at the moment. Our goal, our aim is to be the world's largest data marketplace, which means we will be accessed via the world's most popular API. So quite a grand vision. Bit about us. My background is I built and sold Volcube for 3 years. I sold that at the beginning of the year. Prior to that, I brought Splunk, a log management firm, into Europe. Prior to that, I did the same with Wiley. Splunk IPO'd at 1 billion recently, which you may or may not know about. That kind of got lost in the Facebook thing. But whilst Facebook's share was going down, their price was going down, ours trebled over the course of about 24 hours and continued to stay up there. The larger team, some of which are here tonight, you may have met. Matthew Painter, our CTO, is ex-architect at Yahoo. Just quickly, Andrew Fogg, who's over there, and David White, our CEO, are the innovation guys, ex-innovation guys now at RBS. Stephen Taylor, our chairman, was the ex-CEO of Kype. Prior to that, he was MD at Europe. Prior to that, he was director of marketing at Air Miles. So all very well-qualified people. The story so far, we are a startup, but we have history, interestingly enough. We're a spin-off of an existing technology called Kasiri, which was developed by David and Andrew whilst they were at RBS, interestingly enough. So they had this idea around exploring the fragmentation of data, and they decided to leave RBS and set that up. They recruited Matt, who was actually being approached by Facebook at the time, so that made for an interesting dynamic and still does. They built built the idea of the technology and sold the idea to KPMG, which funded the technology. And then in 2011, widened that out to the wider market. So this is an appliance-based technology with the software on it that sits in PwC, Citi, KPMG, more recently Met Police for analysing data. Now we've split off that technology into the new startup, Import.io. We bought the technology and we effectively licensed it back to Kasiri. And there was a management buy-in of Kasiri that was involved there. We're hitting the mass market sometime towards the end of the summer, September, when we launch our beta and we open it up to whoever wants to have a play, quite frankly. The problem we're addressing, well, data collection becomes hugely more complicated the more data sources you want to look at. There's this big problem with data discovery, which no one really seems to have thought about too deeply. If you look at the stack, the big data stack, people are thinking about analysis, thinking about storage. No one's really thinking about discovery and access to data. Data requirements change frequently. My own bitter experience as a consultant was that for commercial reasons, the requirements on data would change. So data supplies would change. That would have a huge impact on the integration effort that went into a project. There's lots of people with loads of great data on their website, but they have no means of monetizing it at the moment. I'll come back to that very quickly. If we look back at the top point, with Import.io, we don't really care how many data sources you have. You can call them through a single API and a single API call as well. If you can't find the data you need, then we can help. If it's not if you can't find it by searching within our community, and we have over 2,500 data sources now, we have tools to enable you to connect to it. If the data requirements change, then no problem. We've abstracted that data layer from being a development task. So if you have a different data supplier, it's an analyst task to connect to it. It's no longer a development activity. And if you've got great data, then I want to know about it, actually, and we can help you monetize that data by making it available. So we're helping both sides of the coin there, the data owners, the data suppliers, and the data owners who are looking for new ways to monetize data, and also the people that are consuming data and putting it into applications. The opportunity is great for us, and as I just said, on the demand side, we've got more developers creating more and more and ever different apps. Big data is clearly a huge topic at the moment and means a lot of different things to lots of different people. But the long and short of it is that large and small organisations want to see the benefit of big data and all that brings. On the supply side, Google have done great things with AdSense, which is great for content, but no one's really thought about data and how you can monetize that, and that's the problem we address with Import.io. No one's really addressing the long tail market, so the smaller organisations that want to get started with big data from Bloomberg and Reuters and the exchanges, to name but three. With open data, there's no single distribution model, and speaking to the guys at data.gov.uk, they don't even know how they're going to go about opening up an API for some of their data. So the opportunity is there to connect both sides, to create some kind of marketplace there via what we're calling a dynamic data hub. What am I on? Keep going. I've got loads of time. Very simply, you create an account with us. You can find the data according to metadata fields. If you can't find it, we've got tools to integrate it. You create a data mix for whatever you want, and then you hook up to our API and you consume it in your application. What we need is great partners. We're in the unusual position of not actually needing money, although we are asking for it. What we're looking for is for people who have got great connections, know our area, and can help us build our business. So we want to get more technical people. We want to put evangelists in London, Berlin, Tel Aviv, San Francisco, New York, and we want to launch as quickly as possible, and hopefully the full launch is going to be next year. And we're doing that through an initial round of 250,000. More info there, but I'll open the floor up for questions.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Any questions?
So it's not a not deeply technical chat myself. Can you just give an example of sort of the three players in your equation, but like a real life kind of?
Yeah, so actually, if you can see that poster up there, there's a company called Startup Intelligence. They're consumers of our data. So Tom was here somewhere. I think he might have disappeared. But he accesses our service for hundreds of different data sources, which he uses as signals for the classification of startup organisations. That's one example. We've got another more sort of consumery example where people are, there's a company called Planvine. It's a startup. They're sucking in 300 different sources for events data. So they're trying to become a better time out, more personalised information. We're looking at taking anything up to about a week for each data source when they were originally developing their business plan. Now takes them 4 minutes using our technology, so pretty big advantage.
I know of a US business called Factual. How do you compare with them?
Well, there are a huge number of competitors. And no one really does any data and has opened it up properly for both sides of the coin, for both the data consumers and the data providers, and it's that marketplace that we're focused on. In terms of, if you look at direct competition in terms of creating a marketplace, no one's doing it, and we think that's the key to unlocking this, because if you're not making both sides happy, you're not going to be a success as far as we're concerned.
How do you communicate the content and value and credibility of what are essentially quite esoteric data sets to the potential buyers? And also the use cases,
Yeah.
How do I know what the kind of traffic through Mongolian fish markets is going to be of significance to my business, or whatever a data set it is that I have to bring to your
Sure, I
organisation?
mean, I would hope in the first instance you know what you're trying to achieve with your business, but if you're looking at what we I'm not really sure about the question.
What I'm saying is that if people are going to, you've got loads of data sources that people might have some use for, right?
Yeah.
I'm a buyer of data. I rock up to your platform and I see, a shop full of thousands of things, and I don't necessarily really know whether any of that stuff's any good, whether I can rely on it, whether I need to process it much, whether what I've got, I might see something and not realise the value of it to me. So how are you going to? It doesn't seem consumers don't go into your shop really understanding what they're looking for. So how are you bridging that gap?
From two different angles. There's a kind of technical answer to that, and then there's a more sort of salesy answer to that. The salesy answer to that is we're developing a community around what we do. And as an example, we're pre-beta. One of the things I was targeted with when we first launched was getting 5 pre-beta customers on board. We've got 14, and we've got another couple dropping in over the next week. So that's kind of the way we're approaching the market. And it's kind of seeding the market. On the technical side, it's more about the metadata, really. So I want data around racing drivers. So I could do a search on the platform for data around racing drivers, and it would tell me all the sources that I could potentially use and what they output specifically.
I think it's a really good idea, but I have to follow on from Andrew. I think it's interesting that you've tried to focus on building this marketplace across various niches. I think there's a lot more value. If I'm a seller of data or if I'm a buyer of data, I want to kind of feel that there's a marketplace on the other side, supply or demand, that is looking for my product. If it's that broad, I'm going to slightly be concerned as to whether or not you're going to fulfill my value on the flip. I mean, not that you would listen to me, but potentially focusing on a couple of niches initially to build a reliability and being an expert in a data provider within that sector will probably deliver you more value and more traction from a customer perspective.
And that's pretty much the approach. I would absolutely agree with you then. That's the approach that we've taken to date with Kasiri. So with Kasiri, there's been a focus on sort of analysis, financial analysis and financial research, and we've proven to be extremely successful there. So we're kind of, and actually what I'm looking to achieve now is broaden that out from financial services. Yeah.
All done. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.